Joining me this morning, which is actually well past midnight for Mr. Bill Gates, so joining us straight from Seattle. Thank you very much, Mr. Bill Gates, for speaking to us here at the Times Now Summit, where we have in the audience, apart from millions of viewers of Times Network's channels, we also have decision makers of the country joining us. I often read what you write about India, and I recently read, because you've been visiting India since the 1990s. In your blog, Gates Notes, you've written around this time last year, I wrote a Gates Notes post that, that's what you say. I just returned from my visit to India and I can't wait to go back again. And then you also said last week, I got my wish and returned to India, and now I'm home and I can't wait to go back yet another visit to India. What are the three big things that keep drawing you back to India? What do you really pick up in terms of comeback factors to India, unstoppable as we are calling it today?
Well, of course, in my first career at Microsoft, I had a great experience in India where over the last 25 years, Microsoft has built up a team there, now over 25,000 people. And on my last trip, I went to Hyderabad and we celebrated the great work that's gone on. More recently, in my foundation career, India is a key country for us. It's the country that we have the most on-the-ground activities and very deep partnership with many of the ministries at the union level and with several of the states, particularly UP, Bihar, and now Orissa, where I made my first visit just recently. It's really the breadth of talent in India, the desire to move quickly, a real interest in low-cost solutions that not only work super well for India, but also can scale and have an impact in all developing countries. And so the model that we're using in the foundation for many of our projects is that we work first in India, either with the government or the private sector, and then we learn together and then help other countries. That's true in all our health work where, vaccines are probably the most famous, but now drugs and diagnostics are joining that list. And then, of course, everything in the digital realm, where India pioneered starting with the identity system, but now more and more digital public infrastructure. And it was fantastic that India used the big G20 meeting to introduce other countries, and we've seen a lot of uptake. And so I sat down with the government. We talked about how we're helping other countries get on the same path that India's on. And then I saw some recent applications like pest control and educating farmers that were really very impressive. And, I think the platform's just going to keep getting richer and richer.
Well, I want to ask you about the Indian growth story. The theme of our summit this time around is Unstoppable India. India has grown by 8% in the last quarter, and we are heading towards election, and it's always a noisy election in India. What's your outlook for India and its place in the world in the coming years?
Well, India's had pretty steady growth for some time. Obviously there's countries to learn from that also, had periods of very long growth. India will have to do things its own way. Manufacturing, for example, will play a role, but not as great a role as it did, say, in China. Services will play a greater role. I think the basic investments in health and in education to really benchmark and say, okay, where is the Indian education system falling short? How do we deal with such a range of skills in the public schools? I'm pleased that the willingness to really look at, okay, where are the deficits? Where are the exemplars in the country? And here, technology is also going to be a very big tool, starting with the digital platform, but then also with AI. And, maintaining 8% or 7%, even 6% growth over decades is very hard to do. You have to streamline things, engage the private sector in the right way. But for India, it's that investment in youth, and acknowledging, okay, where in nutrition do we still have more to do? Where in education do we still have more to do? And the people, I'm working with in the government, have these goals in mind. So, our foundation ends up being a partner in helping the government achieve many of those goals, particularly in health, but also in agriculture and to some degree even in education.